Hey folks, it's time for yet another custom lesson. This one is a request from BrewStation. The theme will be melee key damage and anima generation. Their first weapon is going to be a Splitstaff, and the second one I had the choice in between Spear or Tonfa, so I went with Tonfas because they are really good at dealing key damage. Guardian Spirits and Soul Cores will be my choice. Currently using Ninigi's Grace, so I want to maximize my key damage while also being able to generate a nice amount of anima. Also, I want to try different Guardian Spirits and Soul Cores other than Ippon, Gozuki, and Mogatsu. And don't worry, I actually used stuff that may surprise you, and it was a lot of fun. So let me show my weapons real quick. Demon Horde Tonfa has pretty much all the staple things I like. I really only cared for Imbue Corruption and Life Drain Active Skill. The Anima bonus on Grapple actually isn't necessary for this setup at all, so feel free to use what you'd like. Tengu's Kakura, same thing, Imbue Corruption, Life Drain Active Skill, that's all I cared for. Now let's get on to the Guardian Spirits and the Soul Cores respectively. So I went with Kagewani. Reason being, it naturally has Life Drain Yokai ability hit. Also strong attack key damage, since you like key damage. I did think of using Yumehame, but it's like, well, you're probably going to stack a ton of melee key damage as it is. So let's give you key damage in a completely different category so you can reap more of its benefits. And so yeah, these two are actually really valuable and greatly underappreciated. Extra life, what's not to love, and the tenacity damage over time is probably not necessary, but it's pretty neat nonetheless. So the first soul core you may notice is Giant Toad. You may be like, dude, doesn't this have like the animation as long as like the creation of the universe? You know, you can basically activate it, go have dinner, come back, and it's still going. Yeah, I get that. But Giant Toad arguably does the most yokai ability key damage, like, period. Even more than Mogatsu Warrior at 9 anima. Certainly more than Ippon. And it's a soul core that oftentimes gets considered trash simply because of the long animation and other related issues. But it is phenomenal at doing key damage, and I figured it would work really well. So, right, this is going to be our big superpower play core. Next, in regards to key damage and stagger, Lady Osakabe makes a return. Super phenomenal. As with Giant Toad, you don't need to actually boost up the Soul Core rank. You can. It doesn't hurt to take less damage. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just I didn't feel the need to. Last but not least, for a range key damage option, Fuki is exceptional, especially when it hits weak spots. It's awesome. It does a whopping amount of damage and a whopping amount of key damage. So yeah, you've got very interesting options for key damage here. All I cared for, truth be told, was the yokai ability Key Pulse, and I just happened to have this anima bonus, which is fun to use on cores like Mogatsu Warrior. But yeah, there's no harm in boosting these either. So yeah, pretty cool. Next we have Okuri-Inu. This one was interesting, and the reason I picked this was because anima generation was the main thing. So there we go, anima, awesome. Just get 2 extra anima. And when it comes to key damage based things, I thought of Nurikabe, which is really powerful, and it's a phenomenal core in general. Very flexible, so this can also default as your quick cancel core alongside Fuki. You could just go for, you know, the first step of 2 anima for 1 slam, or you can go all the way up to the 6 anima version, and that's really powerful. And yeah, awesome. You also take reduced damage, increased toughness, so if you want to boost it up, go for it, but as you can see, I didn't bother. Now, also another strange source of key damage is going to be Tatarimokke. This is also going to be your anima generation core as well. So if it hits a target, preferably a yokai, then it will deal a whopping amount of max key damage, even though the actual damage it inflicts is fairly negligible. And then at the same time, if you just want to use it to spawn pools and get a bunch of anima back, great. You don't have to worry. So if you do want to stack anima bonuses for purification, perfect. I would actually recommend that on your Owl Soul Core as opposed to this one that I have here. But that's just like luxury tier in my opinion. Last but not least, Seto Taisho. Great source of AoE key damage, and it serves as a great body blocking tool. And for many enemies who shoot projectiles, Seto Taisho is fantastic. This is another greatly underestimated core. But yeah, overall, we have great sources of key damage when it comes to Nurikabe. We have yokai ability key damage, max key damage, AoE key damage, super power play, stagger everything, do key damage. So I really kind of push that front. This isn't so much an elemental based setup. While we do have access to that with the Guardian Spirits, and there are certainly some combos, just the bread and butter of this is just going to be, hey, I have a lot of key damage. And if you're using Ninagi's Grace, it works beautifully just being able to tap into all of this. So let's just showcase what Yokai Shift is all about. It can be immensely powerful and straight up comical, in my opinion. All right, so I'm going to deplete some ki first. Emphasis on try to deplete some ki first. Alright. Kagewani is going to be super powerful. Simple combo. Alright, you can start this up. You get an immense amount of stagger the whole time, and you can ensure that that like whole shark whale thing hits. Just stagger, stagger, stagger. It is devastating, straight up. Let me show it again. Give a little bit of range. Look at that. Oh my god. That's pretty crazy, isn't it? Even Giant Toad is very powerful, but when it comes to Yokai Shift, use it towards the end or when you notice a target has very little ki. It's kind of just like a super powerful finisher. You can just see how much damage it'll do. For 7 anima, that's ridiculously efficient. But yeah, you've got a lot of power plays. But if you want to just keep chaining Kagewani into Osakabe, go for it. You can throw in Fuki for range. It's nuts. Now what about Brute? Brute's a little different. Brute's gonna feel strange because we don't necessarily have access to the most power. So how would I actually recommend starting up? Well, I like to get the longest animations out the way. So usually this is how I open up. Thank you, Seto Taisho, for blocking. Let's try it against a human, and then I'll showcase some things you can do just normally. Probably gonna die anyway. But yeah, it's just like a ton of projectiles. It works beautifully against yokai. It's a lot of ki damage, I have to admit. Watch this poor thing die. Alright, let's go ruin a human. Against a human, just use Giant Toad when they're low on ki. Or out of it, preferably. Use it as like the craziest zero ki combo attack possible. That's how I would advise using it. But alright, let's showcase some weapon-based pressure and then see how you would practically use all of this stuff together. Because while Yokai Shift is ridiculous, it's another matter to incorporate these soul cores naturally. I don't think the dojo is necessarily gonna showcase the best way to incorporate a lot of this, simply because these enemies don't necessarily have as much ki as opposed to like being unwise. Here, Giant Toad will just autopilot this thing. Oh, assuming it actually hits. Thank you so much for that. Alright, let's just see how much ki damage I do anyway. There you go. It's pretty effective. You can always stagger opponents. It can be a lot of fun. Alright, let's try some brute things. So that owl thing I was talking about, you need anima every now and again. Throw your pools down. Purify them, get a ton back. It's not going to show because of the dojo stuff, but it can be remarkable, especially with anima bonus on purification. But standalone stuff, this is something you kind of have to plan out. So maybe I would recommend Fill the Void into Tatarimokke and then just go right in. It did a good amount of ki damage. But it's one of those things you gotta plan. If you have some range, it can be really handy. Really? This ain't... Oh, come on, dude. Alright, let's try it against a human since I was having such difficulty against a Yoki. Okay, that was pretty neat. Let's try a couple of other things. The zero ki combo potential of this is extreme. And murdered. Alright, try a few more things because I know that must have been a little satisfying. Here, let's give you an example against a human. Kinda neat, huh? Dang it, I can never seem to work too well with that. Alright, let's try a few other things. Incorporate more soul core use. Remember, with Fuki, for example, don't be at point blank. It won't work well. So oddly enough, it might work better using it with the Splitstaff. Giant Toad getting blocked feels really bad. That's why I was advising using it when they have low key. Tag, dude. This is boring. Fine, Seto Taisho, do some work for me. Whatever, dude. All right, fine. We're gonna try this against a Yoki. Oh. Alright, Giant Toad, put in some work, please. Thank you, Nurikabe. Alright, maybe like one or two other things, and then we'll get on to the gameplay showcase. Ah! Just no. Oh, how dare you! You're gonna get licked for that. This is stupid. I don't actually want to use Yokai Shift. God dang it! I'm sucking right now. It's okay. We'll just do Giant Toad. Why? Because Giant Toad. I'm still gonna do Giant Toad. And by the way, you know, even though you have the long animation with Giant Toad, you may notice the life drain that I'm getting. It's still pretty handy. So it kind of mitigates a lot of the weaknesses that Giant Toad may have, which is, oh, you're very vulnerable the entire time. Well, it's not too bad if you can regenerate a bunch of life. But anyway, I think I've ranted long enough. Let's get on to the gameplay showcase, and I'll see you momentarily. Alright, let's put this setup to the test. So the Scroll of the Damned that I've picked involves a purple giant toad, which I picked for just thematic reasons. And that's another reason why I enjoyed using Giant Toad Soul Core itself, even though I'm Hanzo who becomes Giant Toad. So, Giant Toad everywhere! Dealt with the Ninken very handily, and it was nice. And now we've got the Kusarigama Yokai, who can be extra tough. Fortunately, we have a lot of access to key damage from our weapons, and now even just a single hit from Nurikabe can be very effective. And if you have things like I do, such as Anima bonus on grapple, it's pretty awesome, so that you can take advantage of things like Lady Osakabe to really stagger this quite a bunch. And look at Giant Toad, puts in a good amount of work. And remember, with Kagewani as my guardian spirit, I innately have yokai ability, when my yokai's ability hit rather, oh man, I'm getting tongue-tied. When my yokai ability hits, I drain a significant portion of life, so that can make Giant Toad that much more appealing to use. Alright, we've got a ninja, not too big of a concern. Got a bunch of cool key damage pressure routines. It's always nice to use Tonfa, go into Demon Dance, Demon Dash, and then switch over to Splitstaff. It can be absolutely devastating. And all of these soul cores have done a really good job at dealing a lot of key damage, which is excellent. Now, I do have quite a bit of difficulty against Yasha because, as you can see, my ability to inflict corruption is quite compromised. So perhaps it would be better to use purity weapons so you don't have to worry about that. But all things considered, it's really not too bad. And as you can see, Yasha is kind of weirdly passive. It always kind of throws me off. Oh, there's Giant Toad regenerating a good amount of health, dealing a good amount of key damage. Of course, I would have preferred to get her entirety of her key down, but the fact of the matter is she has a curse on, so it's just going to be naturally a little difficult to take advantage of that. And you can see I'm not able to inflict corruption, so this is like the one time where things feel arguably pretty weak. But if you are able to, again, either use Purity or use Corrupted, and in this case, Purity would have been better. If I had more Purity to work with, then, you know, she'd be taking 50% extra key damage. But all things considered, I'm not really doing that bad. And that's the important thing. I'm not really doing that bad. I'm able to deplete her key. And here's a decent example of Owl. Let's see how it works. Did a good amount of key damage there. Keep in mind, if she really hasn't done anything for me to work with. And I'm kind of running low on Anima, so I'm struggling a little bit. So this kind of show you like the overall weakness of the setup. But it's still like, this is worst case scenario. I think like Yasha is quite unique in avoiding corruption. Like not even Suiki poses this much of an annoyance, or a nuisance to me rather. But yeah, let's just see what happens. This is the slowest it gets, I promise you. This is like the slowest portion of the entire thing. Finally, burst attack. Now it's gonna get infinitely easier, but of course, she's basically dead. And so it's like, well, I wish you had done that a little sooner so I could counter you that much sooner. But now we're on purple giant toad. So remember, purple enemies are really hardy, really tanky. And look at all that key damage I dealt, even though it has the curse. And look how easy it is for me to inflict corruption. And it's gonna get so much easier, even if I mess things up, which I do a little bit in this video, but I think it's really not gonna matter. Here's another use of Owl. Watch the max key damage that it inflicts, a good chunk, even if it didn't feel that effective. Here we go, Seto Taisho. Ooh, look at that sweet key damage. Now I think I'm gonna transition to Yokai Shift, just to illustrate its raw power. I don't think I get the best use out of it. Tatarimokke does a whopping amount of max key damage. Ooh, oh, I tried to go for an interrupt, but I didn't realize the jutsu would go out, so I kind of lost Yokai Shift. So a lot of this is going to be me getting back my full gauge and using the weapons at my disposal. And you can see the key overall is not too bad. Look at Osakabe. Interrupted the jutsu cast and did a surprising amount of key damage. Look at this. Ooh, using Giant Toad on itself. Isn't that quite thematic? And I had a lot of time to be able to get the grapple, which is great. Throw out Owl early, watch the key damage. Oh, it didn't work out. That's unfortunate. I did it a little bit too early. I think Giant Toad's unique in that I could have probably just waited a little bit. Fuki, excellent, good job. But that's okay, it didn't work out the best, but I'm all good. And overall, I've got things in my favor. I even forgot to actually use my extraction, rejuvenation jutsus and stuff as I normally do. But oh well, it's really not a concern. Look how pressured he is. It's remarkable. There's almost no difficulty in this fight, and it's a purple enemy. I'm never really at any massive threat. Awesome. Halfway there. I'm halfway done with the fight. Osakabe doing some work, but not, again, I didn't place it that well. Switch over to Brute Counter, Nurikabe. Very nice. Let's see what I can get away with. Can I get away with another Nurikabe? The answer is yes. And this, of course, helps me fill up my gauge, go back into Yokai Shift once again. This is crazy. Alright, let's see what else I can do. For fun, I switch over to Kagewani, and then look at all this. Oh my god. It's so powerful. It is so powerful. Use Giant Toad against Giant Toad. Lick the Toad. That is disgusting, I know. But yeah, those Yokai Shift combos are really, really coming in handy. Look at that Kagewani. Boom! Super stagger, super damage. Let's go in. Giant Toad once again. Look. Oh, God. That's just illegal. And then let's switch back over to Yokai Shift. And done. That's it. It's over. So overall, very effective. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this was instructive and helpful. And I will, of course, see you guys next time.